Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this new episode of Sartorial Talks. Today we have the extreme pleasure to be in Dallas, Texas. That's my first time in Texas ever. And God knows how with Sonia we've been traveling around the world, but we never took the time to come and visit our dear friend Kirby Allison in Dallas, Texas. And today we made it happen. He made it happen, and we are at Kirby's place in Dallas, Texas, and we are so happy to be here with you, my friend. Thank you for receiving us.
Yeah, well, Hugo, it's been too long.
Yes.
Of course, dear close friend of mine.
Yes.
And for the cameras, I must say, I think so fondly of you because my first time to Paris was with you. You so graciously hosted my wife and I.
Yes.
And you're an incredible host, and I don't think that there is anyone that knows Paris better than you.
Yes.
And you showed us what was an incredible time. I think I fell in love with Paris because of the time we had together.
Well, that's very kind of you, but what I showed you, if I remember well, was kind of the underground Paris.
Yes, it was.
The real Paris.
Yeah, it was not the Paris I was expecting.
That's for sure. It's not the Paris for tourists. I remember we've been in a jazz club, very famous jazz club called the Caveau des Oubliettes, and then this very famous cabaret called Les Trois Maillets, where you have a grand orchestra with several artists and everybody's dancing on the table. I'm glad that you remember that because this is 12 years ago.
I thought I was on a different planet.
Yeah, well, somehow you were. So today, I wanted to have this opportunity to spend a moment with Kirby. So you see, we are very stressed here. We have a good cigar, Cuban cigar. We have a good
bourbon.
Scotch, bourbon. Sorry, of course, we're in America. And good company, good cigar, good alcohols. What else, honestly, in the world? So anyway, I wanted to introduce you to Kirby Allison, but I suppose that if you follow Sartorial Talks, many of you know this man because he became, over the years, I know him, so he was in his 20s, back in the years, and he did a tremendous job. And all of a sudden, his store that was called the Anger Project at the beginning, but we're going to get back to this in a moment. Now it has his name. He created from the ground up a real brand, and his YouTube channel had become almost the cornerstone of what we have to learn about sartorial experience and culture in the world. So first of all, Kirby, I saw you starting with your wife, and I know you did the job. You put your hands in the engine. I remember you exhibiting a few hangers on some trade shows, and you really did something from the top. And I really want to say that I have a lot of admiration for what you achieved.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Hugo, for your kind words. And of course, I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for great friends like yourself.
Yes.
And the support that you and so many others have offered. But it's been a journey.
Yes.
It's been a great journey. And I have to say it's a journey that I'm still continuing to enjoy to this day.
Yes, I know that. So let's go back for the people. So if you know Kirby Allison, you know his YouTube channel, you know his Webstore where you can find extremely good product, shoe cares, but not only shoe care, hangers, ties, accessories, fantastic quality, because I know that Kirby is obsessed with quality. But for those who may not know, maybe there are some here looking at this show, it's interesting. So first of all, go to Kirby Allison on YouTube. You have to subscribe to this channel because it's one of the most interesting out there. But I would like you to tell a little bit your story because it's an interesting story of a young man just out of college, right? Who was interested in tailoring, in traditions, in quality, and how all of us, I remember your first claim, and I think this guy is clever. I remember you saying 12 years ago, you tailor your suits. Why don't you tailor your hangers?
Yeah.
And you were the first, to my knowledge, to offer different width of hanger. You still do this, I suppose. That. But tell us a bit the story. What is behind this? How did everything start? What was the genesis of this idea?
Yeah. You tailor your clothes, now tailor your hangers.
Yes.
It seemed so simple back then.
It is very simple.
But yeah, thank you, Hugo. I mean, just like you, I think that since before we found ourselves where we are now, there was a certain kind of innate appreciation of quality of craftsmanship and of tradition. That was something that I think as just a young adolescent boy that was somehow there, right?
Yes.
And it all started actually back in college, right? So I went to the University of Texas at Austin, and one of the things that UT Austin required as part of my degree program was art history. Art history at a university like at UT was basically you and 500 other students in an auditorium. It's like massive, learning about the history of art since the beginning of time.
Okay.
You know, and nothing sounded more boring to me than sitting in an auditorium of 500 kids, you know, listening to a professor lecture of the history of art since the beginning of time. So I kind of put this credit off, you know, for a long time. And I think it was my last semester of college. I needed to take this, and my college counselor at that time knew that I was fascinated with menswear.
Yeah.
And she suggested that I approach a professor in the Department of Theater and Arts who taught a graduate level course in costume design in tailoring.
You did this.
And so I said, well, that sounds interesting. Yeah. And so there I was, you know, a business student, you know, walking, you know, clear across campus to the Department of Theater and Arts and to this professor, Jim Glavin's office. And I think
you remember the name of the
professor?
professor?
Yes, absolutely.
What's his name?
Jim Glavin.
Okay.
And I've never felt more like a fish out of water than I was in that professor's office. And I think that he was probably even more surprised than I was that I was there, kind of lobbying him to allow me to substitute what was his most difficult class that all of the costume design students, you know, lamented taking, which was a course in tailoring.
Okay.
And so I'll never forget this. He says, well, I mean,
where are you? Which year? What year is this?
Well, this would have been, you know, I graduated college in 2005. So it would have been 2005. And I'll never forget, he says, well, you know, do you have any experience sewing and making garments? I said, no. He says, well, you know, do you know how to use a sewing machine? I said, nope, I've never used one. He says, well, I mean, have you even ever sewn a button on a shirt before? And I said, no.
Okay.
And he says, well, why the heck do you want to take this class? I mean, this is the most difficult one of the entire graduate program. And I think he, you know, finally figured out I was so crazy, you know, that he couldn't say no. And so he said, okay, I'll allow you to do this, with no expectation that I would actually do anything other than just observe. Wow. And in this course, which to this day I will still claim to be the most difficult class I took in all of college,
yes,
I hand-tailored my own suit jacket from a bolt of fabric.
Wow.
And it was an incredible experience that gave me such a...
And you did the whole jacket?
The whole jacket. The patterns,
the cutting,
the pick stitching, you know, everything.
Do you still have this jacket?
I do. I should grab it to you. I have it here. I'll show it to you.
Wow.
And another funny story is he said, well, during the summer, he said, well, go buy a bolt of fabric, right? Okay. So I went to New York, go to one of these cloth merchants, yes, and what do? I buy a bolt of fabric of something that I liked. Well, it was a Prince of Wales. Wow. Incredibly complex pattern. I bring it back and he says...
Specifically to align...
Yeah, and he was like, you know, he was like, oh my gosh, like what were you thinking? Like you should have bought a navy cloth, but you're going to have to match the pattern. And so, you know, it was a function of my passion, but also my naivete at the time. Okay. And I hand-tailored it, and it taught me, it gave me a profound and very real appreciation for what goes in to the creation of a bespoke garment.
And then from this, you had the idea?
Well, no. So then what happens is I take all my graduation money.
Yes.
And I buy my first custom suit.
Wow.
And it comes on a plastic hanger that doesn't fit. And this was the genesis for what at that time was the Hanger Project. And I tried to come up with a clever name. Yes. Right? Gentlemen's hangers, this, that, or the other. Yeah. And my roommate at the time was, so why don't you just call it what you've been calling it, which is the Hanger Project. Mm-hmm. Just,
I still don't see the, explain to us now, from a student on the sewing class to the hangers.
You're right. So I missed
a jump.
I missed an important part. So I take all my money, I invest in this, custom suit. It comes on this, really crummy plastic hanger, which in some ways was offensive, right? Here is someone that, I spent all this money, but more than that, someone spent all this time to make this suit.
Yeah.
And it's like taking a Picasso or a Monet to Michael's to be framed, right? It just seemed, incongruent. So then I start my first job. I'm doing banking, right, in a bankruptcy group, 2005, 2006, and nobody's going bankrupt, right?
Okay.
So there was nothing for me to do. So what do? You're at work, you're bored. I'm on the internet.
Yeah.
And I'm on Ask Andy About Clothes,
Ask
which was
Andy
this.
About Clothes. We have to say something about that, because maybe just a few of you remember this founding forum in the late 1990s.
Yeah.
I don't know his name,
Andy Gilchrist.
Gilchrist,
Yeah.
And I remember myself in, I would say, 2003, 4, I was literally spending hours on this. There was the infancy of the internet. And Ask Andy About Clothes is probably, we have to pay tribute to him, because this man was a pioneer. And then after, you had the Suitable Wardrobe and the London Lounge and the Style Forum, and then us, and then Simon in England, etc.
But he was the first.
Yeah, he was the first. Yeah. And somebody told me in marketing, you can be the best sometimes and the number 2 sometimes, but when you are the first, it's forever. And we have to pay credit to this man, because did you meet him?
Oh yeah, Andy became a good friend.
I've never met him.
I flew to California. We looked into buying his business, at one point.
Oh wow.
And we passed
anyway,
on the opportunity.
Let's continue about, we are touching now the hangers.
The hangers, but so here I am in my first job, and at this time, right, and I'm spending my time on Ask Andy, and I start complaining about this plastic hanger. Right, so it's a simple question. It's like, I got this suit, I spent all this money, it's on a plastic hanger. Where can I get a high-quality wooden hanger? Yeah. And it was like a dog pile of people jumping on this thread, talking about how difficult it is, and how what you need to do is go beg your Neiman Marcus sales representative, and if you're lucky, he'll give you a few extra. Yeah. And at that moment, it kind of dawned on me. It was like, it didn't dawn on me really, but it was like, here is Ask Andy, right? At that time, was the most significant community of clothing aficionados in the world. Yes. I mean, these people scoured the earth for the best of the best. They had their suits made in Naples, their shirts made in Paris, their shoes made in London. Yes. There was no limit to these guys, and they couldn't find high-quality wooden suit hangers. Yes. And so around that time on Ask Andy, this concept of group buys kind of came about.
We call it group MTOs.
Yeah, group MTOs. But it was like, someone would throw up an idea, a bunch of people would subscribe, they'd kind of collect the money and then go and have it made. So I basically said to the group, I said, look, clearly there aren't any high quality wooden hangers out there, otherwise you would know where they are. Yeah. I said, I've got time, I'll go find someone to make these hangers for us, but I don't have any money. I'm a poor kid out of college, and so you guys are going to have to prepay for these. And that was kind of the genesis for the Hanger Project. I mean, it was literally just in lowercase letters, the Hanger Project. And so I threw up a website that I coded in Notepad. Yes. I took payments via PayPal, thank you, Elon Musk. Yes. And I kind of aggregated these orders together, closed it off, found someone to make the hangers for us, and I thought that was it.
I remember the very beginning of that.
And so we deliver the hangers. Yes. And then everyone at that point says, wow, this guy's not a fraud. They're really nice hangers. Can we do it again? Yes. So we did it again. And then we did it again. And it was about the third time around that I said, you know what, there's a going concern here. So I invested in some inventory, with a credit card. Of course. I found someone to make a website out of Guatemala and someone in Michigan to basically drop ship these hangers. And it just was a little side gig. Yeah. And then, life-changing, in 2007, I was dating my wife, and Bianca, and we decide, I'm jumping forward, but, so Andy, right, we talked about Andy. Yes. So Andy, very supportive, and so he sent me his list of PR contacts.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so I started just kind of randomly mailing hangers to these people on his list. And one of the hangers ended up in the hands of a journalist by the name of Lauren, I can't remember her last name, who got this hanger, was like, what am I going to do with this? Threw it in a closet. 4 weeks later, she got an assignment by the Wall Street Journal to write an article called The Catalog Critic.
Wow.
And the whole premise of The Catalog Critic is you pick something, a product, and then you secret shop it from a bunch of different people, and then you go find an expert to rate them.
Okay.
And she said, well, what a great idea. I've never thought about this.
Let's do it on hangers.
Let's do it on hangers, right?
Because I'd sent her.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal. And so she calls us up, and says, I'm writing this article, asks us some questions, and it just kept on getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And so finally, I think at some point I'd given up that it was ever going to be published. Well, Bianca and I, we take this trip to Brazil over Thanksgiving, right? November 17th, we land in Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo or wherever, and the article had published. And I think in 24 hours we sold out of all of our hangers.
Of course. That's a crazy story.
It totally changed my life. I didn't even have a phone number, right? We had no inventory controls. So not only did we sell out, but we continued to sell hangers that I didn't have. Yeah. And that was really what opened up the opportunity for me to quit and kind of do it full time.
Wow. That's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
You know what? I just realized now that all the people in our little community, the few sartorial preachers that are out there, that is to say yourself, myself, and then let's say probably on one
less
hand,
than 5,
yeah, 5 more in the world. We all started somehow the same manner, because me, when I started Parisian Gentleman in 2009, January 2009, I was a successful film producer. I was, my life was pretty much done. I had my office on the Champs-Élysées. Sometime I was making up to 200 salaries, so that was big. And then, during the night, I was interested in tailoring, but I couldn't find anything on the subject. So I said, well, it's just like you for hangers.
Especially in French.
Well, yeah. I said, well, if nobody's doing it, I'm going to do it, but as a diary.
Yeah.
It was my diary.
Yeah.
I was just sharing with others my experience at Chiffonelli and at Charvet and at Pierre Cortet and Berluti. And I remember the first night, my first article, the first night, we have a saying in France, we say, night ideas rarely see breakfast. We say that in France. Not because we're drunk. It's because, at night you are in a special mood.
Yeah.
And then you write and you have the impression you are Gustave Flaubert or Victor Hugo immediately, but you're not.
Yeah.
And, but at the end, I said, I'm going to see in the morning. And so I went on WordPress. You remember WordPress? And I just put Parisian Gentleman. Like I could have put, I don't know, like dresswell.com. But it came to my mind, Parisian Gentleman. And I never thought that people will associate this to my person.
Yeah.
It was totally by chance.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, guess what? I had 17 readers, 17. And I was
astounded.
Oh my gosh. I said, can you believe that? That 17 people in the world discovered this obscure blog with one article?
Was the first article in French or English?
It was in French. Yeah. And then I started to translate in English. And then when Sonia came into my life in 2011, of course, we developed English a lot. But anyway, to come back to what I was saying, it's the same thing as you on another subject, is that I said, well, there's something here. And then I started to write randomly, but often.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, I was typing a fast progressing blog. The fastest progressing blog. And then I was number 1.
Amazing.
I said, what? Yeah. I was number 1 in style and fashion, but still, I was the fastest progressing blog on WordPress worldwide. Yeah.
You're 17 to 35.
That was crazy. And so I said, it's the same as you.
Yeah.
I said, well, there's something here. We have to do something. Nobody is doing it. Simon Crompton was just starting in the UK. We started pretty much at 1 month difference, but with another approach, very British. Yeah, I wanted to be more French and Italian. So anyway, that's the story. So what I take away from that, Kirby, is that, first of all, we had the passion. And attraction to that. But secondly, we both found some kind of vacuum.
Yeah.
There was a vacuum. So now, I remember you at the beginning, the Hunger Project. I remember I tried to introduce you to Chief Smalto.
Yes, I remember driving around in your smart car, in Paris, as you were taking me around for introductions.
Exactly. That's a long story. And so, after that, Hunger Project started to, and then quite quickly after, you became an important actor in shoe care.
Yeah.
Is that right? It
Yeah.
was immediately after?
Well, I wish it was immediate. I joke that, a rational person doesn't become an entrepreneur, they do something else.
Okay,
right?
yeah,
So
of course,
had I been really rational about my business, I would have done it totally different. But we started with hangers.
Yes.
And then we went to garment care. So we had garment bags, garment brushes,
Yes.
men's hangers, women's hangers.
Yes.
And then at the suggestion of a customer, right, we started carrying Saphir shoe polish.
Okay.
And that's really, I think, one of the most pivotal moments in the entire business was the shoe care.
Yeah.
And not just the shoe care, right, because a product's a product, right? We were the first probably in the United States to really carry it.
Yeah.
But there were two things that really...
a French brand, of course.
A French brand, yeah.
Yeah,
well, I mean...
We have to say this because it's very important.
Well, it is important because in the United States, the narrative of shoe care is a tin of kiwi wax polish.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is as sophisticated as the narrative of shoe care was.
Mm-hmm.
You compare that to Saphir, which at that time had existed for, 100 years?
Yes.
Almost?
Yes.
That had this incredibly well-developed, philosophy of care toward shoes. And it had a really complicated, really wide portfolio of products. And so, the two things that kind of made the difference, first was I traveled to France to go visit the factory and meet with the owner. And
Yes.
that's what educated me about the rich and incredible, narrative of shoe care that existed in France. Mm-hmm. Taught me how to use these products. And then second, I said, you know what, there's no way I'm going to be able to sell these products to Americans who all they know is Kiwi
thought they
shoe
will
polish.
Not understand?
Yeah, they won't, I can't sell 15 products to an American in shoe care whenever they're only used to using one.
Yes, the one they found at Walmart.
At Walmart,
or whatever, yeah.
without educating them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started by doing written shoe care tutorials.
Yes.
And we were the first on the internet.
I remember.
To write a shoe care tutorial on how to shine your shoes.
Yes.
And so that took off, and that's what allowed us to sell so much Saphir shoe polish. And then ultimately, after, my wife had been urging me to do this for years because she has a background in television, but finally I said, you know what, we need to start doing some videos.
Yes.
And so our videos started at this desk, right, that exact desk right across from us in an old office, but looked just like that, filming videos on how to shine your shoes.
Yes.
And just like you with the Parisian Gentleman,
Yes.
astounded at 17 readers,
Yes.
we published these videos, and I was just astounded that 1,000 people would watch a video.
Yes, me too.
And that's how it evolved. And I think one of the things that's really common about both of our businesses is that, ultimately, they evolved out of us, of who we are.
Yes.
Right? And our own authentic personal interests. We didn't have business plans.
Well, that's the less we can say, my friend.
Yeah.
Because I remember I'm sorry, I don't want to say that this is two old soldiers speaking about
You may have had a business plan. I didn't.
No. Yeah. It is important because that's, first of all, it's the first time we have this opportunity to browse our memories.
Well, we've got years. I mean, we've got to catch up on a decade.
Exactly, exactly. But it was the same for us when we started Parisian Gentleman. It was exactly the same thing, is that we were we had this impression we were going to feel a vacuum.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I remember when Sonia, my wife, entered my life by storm, literally in 2011. We married very quickly and everything. We started, and we said, okay, we're going to attack. We're going to go to the American market and the English-speaking stuff. So we developed that. And I remember at that time, I said, okay, we had 50,000 followers on Facebook. Instagram was not even invented.
Which were large numbers back then.
Yeah, it was large numbers. And whatever, probably a community of 100,000 people. And I said, can't believe we have to do something with this. And when I said, okay, to everybody, I sell all my companies, I sell everything I want, that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Everybody was asking me, do you have a business plan?
Yeah.
And I said, a what? I said, a business plan. Well, I remember saying to one guy, I said, if you have a business plan in 2009 on the internet, it means you don't understand what the internet is. Because if you are able to forecast what's going to happen, we still don't know exactly what's going to happen with the metaverse, with this new artificial intelligence that was released a few days before. So we don't know. So you learn while you walk. Yeah. And this is exactly what we did. Yeah. And we didn't know what we're going to do. And I remember even big brands, big brands, among the biggest. Mm-hmm. In France we have big luxury group. They were laughing at me. To say, you're never going to make 1 penny with a blog. You're never going to make, well, we can say, since 2011 with Sonia, we only do this. We have no side job, we don't sell anything, and we make a very decent living just speaking of adding beauty in people's life, which is a fantastic journey. So, we are shoe care. Yeah. And then we maybe skip to the next big step. Because I was so used to the Hunger Project. And one day, all of a sudden, I saw KirbyAllison.com. So you decided to create your own brand. Yeah,
and this is a great example of kind of like, what comes first, the cart or the horse, right? And so, for whatever reason, whenever I created the YouTube channel, I created it under the name Kirby Allison, right? And at a certain point, the YouTube channel was really eclipsing Hanger Project, right? And people would say, well, the Hanger Project, you do so much more than hangers. Yeah. How do you continue to call it the Hanger Project? And so, talk about one of the most difficult decisions that took me too long to make was, transitioning from Hanger Project to Kirby Allison. But as I, at that point had been doing it for 12 or 13 years, right? And, at that point I probably had 3 children, right? And I was looking to, this is something that I want to continue to build on for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. What is the platform that's going to allow me to do that? And Kirby Allison, is as truly hesitant and reticent as I was to call it that because it felt so conceited and self-centered. I was understand. It did not come natural. It came at a lot of external kind of pushing to finally make that jump. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, well, what am I going to say? Hi, I'm Kirby Allison of Kirby Allison. It felt ridiculous, But finally, at some good advice, and I had some, just incredible mentors that the Lord kind of put in my life to kind of help guide me. Yeah. We made that jump, and we're not, we'll never arrive, right? Nope. I mean, it's a journey, and so, I just try to continue to do what it is I love, what it is I'm passionate about. Yeah. And, I feel fortunate that we've kind of been able to distill that into quality craftsmanship and tradition. What is it that I love? Yes. And what is it that I'm passionate about? Yeah. It's quality craftsmanship and tradition. For the first 15 years, that's been in menswear. Yep. But one of the things that I love about that as a platform is that quality craftsmanship and tradition can be found anywhere. Yes. So as I look to the future, right, I really look forward to kind of to exploring that everywhere. Yes. I mean, not everywhere, but in other places, and that's what I think is fun, and that's what's exciting. And I love people. Mm-hmm. I love meeting people. Yes. I love learning about these things, and so the YouTube channel really has been an incredible vehicle to allow me to do what it is that I'm passionate about. Yeah, that's more so than the Hanger Project, or the online store. Yeah, this is a fantastic path. I have to congratulate you because with Sonia, we are, if we mix our 2 channels, we're around 250, $250,000. You are at 600,000, so he's much bigger than us now. We don't have exactly the same public, but we can say now that together we're close to 1 million. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of people, but it's something that makes me tick always. I said, because I remember at the beginning, I was impressed with 17 readers. Yeah. Because I say,
how can in the world some people will be interested by my words, you know, about my ties and my shirt? I had the same problem as you. I said, I'm speaking about myself.
Yeah.
I'm speaking about my experience. But, you know, little by little, and actually it boomed quite quickly. And the point is that, and that's will be my second question to you, Kirby, for you. It's that how do you explain that all of a sudden, well, it took us a good decade, but it came quite fast for you and quite fast for us too. We were able to gather very quickly a very solid fan base or follower base or whatever you call this, and it was also a big surprise for Sonia and me. I said, how can we gather hundreds of thousands of people, sometimes millions of people a month on our videos? How can that be? How do you explain this? Because when we look outside, with Sonia we play a game all the time. I was going to a national TV show in France, and on the way on the taxi we were trying to count the number of leather shoes we would see in the streets.
Yeah.
We saw probably 3 or 4 out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of sneakers. And we discovered that maybe 4 people were wearing leather shoes. That was really insane. So how can it be that people like us, of course, in the vast ocean of YouTube, 1 million, if we combine everything we do together, it's nothing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is something. Why? Because your community and our community are very sincere, very loyal people, and very passionate. Yeah. How do you explain, can we speak about a revival of what we do, or is it just our own fantasy because we are so much inside this world that we see progresses everywhere, but we don't really see it in the street? Can we speak, in your opinion, of a revival for well-crafted shoes and a buy less but buy better?
Yeah.
It's a difficult question.
It's a difficult question. And I think there's so many layers to that question. I mean, one, the internet. I mean, my business, the Hanger Project, never would have existed if it were not for the internet.
Yeah, which is a paradox.
Yeah.
Because the digital world brought us back to tradition.
Yeah, it did. This is an incredible paradox. I think we should talk about this more. I mean, you know, my business, if it had to be a brick and mortar, couldn't have existed even in a city like London, New York, or Paris.
Yes.
Because there's not enough people in London, New York, or Paris that care about hangers, you know, at that time, or shoe polish to support a business, right? No one would have ever earned a living doing that, right? I mean,
exactly.
And so if it weren't for the internet to allow us to aggregate our audience across the world, I don't think that either of us would be doing what it is that we're doing now.
That's for sure.
So that, I think, created the space of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Second, I think, you know, there is a certain kind of social inflection point that we're seeing at this moment, which, you know, in America I describe, you know, as the rebound to quality.
Okay.
Right? And so this is a phenomenon that's unique to America, right? So you'll have to let me know kind of you see this in Europe.
A little bit.
But, you know, I was a child of a baby boomer, right? So this is the children of the people that came back from World War II, right? Mm-hmm. It was an unprecedented time of upward mobility and affluence in America. And the baby boomers enjoyed that affluence in consumerism. Yeah. So, and globalization. And so it was all about consuming more of lower quality, right, but just more. Yeah. And it was excessive, right? I mean, it was so...
Well, for us, a European, it's still very excessive in the USA, but that's another story.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I think is unique in America, is that it was, you know, you compare the American consumerism and those values of just more of a lower quality to the historic values and virtues of Europe, which was conservation, right? And that you can only afford to buy what you can buy, but you have to take care of it because it has to last you, and you can't. You only own one nice pair of shoes, so you take care of it, or one nice sweater, and you take care of it. You know, so we grew up, my generation, you know, with these parents that like didn't teach us anything. I mean, I didn't learn how to dress from my father.
No,
I didn't learn how to take care of things. If it didn't look good, he'd throw it away and buy another one. Yeah. And so I feel like we came of age and found a void of meaning.
Yeah.
Right? And so the rebound, the quality as I describe it, is this search for meaning, which is that, we don't have the same degree of affluence as our parents did.
Of course.
And so we are going to seek out fewer things, but of a higher quality.
Yeah.
And in that, it took us back to our roots, these old world virtues
Yes.
of conservation, which is at its fundamental what it is.
You understand that conservation and this adjective conservative is almost an insult in France in the political world, but I don't know, that's another story. But this
it's probably here as well,
Yeah, it's very odd.
Yeah.
That you.
Well, in some ways, it's countercultural.
Yes.
Right. So someone that's dressing up as ourselves,
Yeah.
In me, a white shirt, a tie, a pair of leather dress shoes, a suit, and I do this most days. There's no question that it's countercultural.
Yeah.
And this is what the internet has allowed: is men like us and women, right, who share a countercultural viewpoint of the world, to find community and to connect with one another. And that's what the internet has allowed. Yeah. And one of the things that the internet has further allowed, not to lament at this point, is for people like us, right, and other people out there, to reveal this incredible, this magical world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition to people who would have never come across it because their parents, because they didn't inherit it from their parents.
That's very interesting. May I add something? Well, as usual, ladies and gentlemen, you see no paper here, just a glass of
I might
whiskey.
need another pour of the bourbon.
I'm going to ask Kirby to relight my cigar because I'm not a professional of cigars.
Let's take a quick break because I need grab some Willet for me. That's okay.
Well,
and
we still have 20 minutes and we're good. I agree with you, Kirby. May I add my explanation of that?
Please.
This what you call quality,
Forgive me for not asking,
quality rebound. It's I'm French. We like to put
very
a little bit of philosophy.
Philosophical.
Yes, a little bit more. Let's say
cerebral.
everything you said is perfectly right, but my conviction is that today, since I would say a solid 5 years, we are witnessing something that we never witnessed. We receive hundreds of messages just like you from people from all around the world, young people in their 20s or even younger. We receive sometimes people from 15, 16 years
or older, people in their 50s.
Or from in their 70s. Yeah. This is crazy.
It's never too late.
They say something that really, really make me think is that we want to rediscover the weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, I'm sorry for my accent, of time.
Yeah.
We want to rediscover the pleasure of waiting, and more important than that, I think that the basic instinct as a human being is...
You meant weight, W-A-I-T.
Weight,
weight,
the weight,
okay,
the weight, And so I think that this young generation, for the first time, they rediscover the fact that maybe they can buy something that will survive them.
Yes.
It's becoming very anthropological to speak about that, is that what if it was a way to fight against our own mortality? I know I'm going very far, but if you really deep dive into this, it's a real instinct for every human being to have something which is
legacy.
larger than life.
Yeah.
Literally. This suit has been made by Chief only for me and only for me. This suit has been made by
Terry Hayes. No, John Kent. Sorry.
John Kent, for you and only for you.
Yeah.
If you maintain it properly with a good hangers from the Hanger Project, I mean Kirby Allison now, and if your son may have roughly the same size as you, and even if you don't, there's sufficiency of fabric allowance inside, you may give it to your son, and he may even give it to his son. This is something that the kids who are discovering our world are totally in awe with us. What?
Well, that's meaning, right?
This is possible?
I mean, I remember my grandfather, who was an incredible influence in my life, he passed away, unfortunately, too young. I'm 65, but I wish he was still here. But whenever he passed away, I remember the children kind of going into his closet
Yes.
to try to find something.
Yes.
And I found a pair of Bruna Mali crocodile Oxfords.
Oh, wow.
That, by the grace of the Lord, fit perfectly.
Oh, wow.
And so I still have those. And,
Okay.
I have his Rolex that he gave me. And, the meaning, right? This is what I go back to, which is the search for meaning.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so multidimensional, right?
Yeah.
Inheriting something from your father or grandfather
Yeah.
gives whatever it is, at whatever quality. It could be anything,
Yes.
right? It could be a pair of flip-flops, right? Doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? That gives that object meaning. And what I like about bespoke, and this is one of the great virtues of bespoke, right? Not bespoke, but things that are well made,
Yes.
is its durability,
Yes.
right? And that is what allows these items, when cared for properly, to outlive one of us,
Of course.
right? To be passed on.
But you understand, this is a concept.
Yeah.
For the young generation, buying something that will outlive them, this is something totally, paradoxically, it's totally new. And this is why we have an army of young guys who just understand. And on the other side, a few years before, I don't know if it's the same in America, 10 years ago, people were looking at us as, these sartorialists, they're just like, idealist people, full of money, spending all their time speaking about ties and going into forum and fight for hours on the width of a tie, on this kind of thing.
Your lapel.
Yeah. But it changed recently. Because, for example, in France now, we are going like that. Why? Because we start to check all the squares, ecologically speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a big deal in Europe.
This is what's
ecology.
really interesting, I have to say, is the social conservation,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we talk about, labor laws and
Yes.
about, I can't think of all of the, kind of the words, but, of just social thoughtfulness,
Yes.
right? Of instead of buying something that's anonymous, that could be made in a sweatshop by children,
in
being,
Bangladesh.
wherever,
Yeah.
knowing who made it for you and
Yes.
that it was made ethically,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
And close to you.
And close to you
Yeah.
by someone you know,
Yes.
that you visited,
Yes.
that you have a relationship with.
Exactly.
And then it's got this incredible durability to it that allows something to only develop more meaning, right?
Exactly. And if you add to that the fact that the pollution which is implied by the fast fashion, we rarely talk about that, but this is absolutely dramatic.
Well, I think
When
it's
that
an
these
important
people-
topic.
Yeah, it's an enormous. I remember Pierre Cortet, the famous shoemaker from France, saying to me, "There's too much clothes in the world."
Yeah.
With this Zara, and I have nothing against these companies, but they create a collection every 2 weeks,
Yes.
literally, and there's too many clothes. So, ecology, we check the box, and the people from the mainstream media said, maybe those people are not so illuminated that we suppose they were, and then we check the box also about, localization, local business. We were among the first to check these boxes. Go to a tailor, go even to MTM shop, but around the corner. You don't have to go that far for that.
Yeah.
And then little by little, we almost, well, I don't want to say totally, because that will be exaggerating, but we are not mainstream. But we are counterculture, but it has become established.
Yeah.
And in the last 6 months in France, we can say with Sonia, we made the front page of the biggest newspaper in France for the weekend edition, Le Figaro. We were in Paris Match, which is like the magazine of the people since 50 years. We had the last page of Paris Match, and then after we were on France Inter. That's France Inter. It's I would say it's 6 million auditors per day, and then we were on national TV 1 month ago in front of 1 million people. So it means, Kirby, that our subject is not mainstream, but it's going up, and we are very, very happy, and I would say I'm almost proud of what we achieved. Kirby, there's a mystery about you for me. Well, I can understand that you as an American, you're more attracted to the English cut, let's say, globally, and the English, because for many reasons, because the tailors from Savile Row, they travel to the USA since
the language,
decades. The language,
the culture,
of course. But you don't go too much into Italian and French that we covered. So it's, well, together we cover a lot, even if there's a lot of other countries that are more and more interesting. Poland, Slovakia,
Japan.
Germany, India. There's a lot of places like that. But when we see your shows that are very well made, I must congratulate you about that, in London, you look like you're local almost. You know, everybody knows you. You really deep dive into this community. So how did you do that to be accepted? Because I know the tailors in Savile Row. I've been, well, in good relationship with John Hitchcock and some big names like that, and they're not easy people to start with. So why are you so attached to London? And I don't know, tell us a little bit about your relationship with this community, because it is a small community in London.
Yeah. You know, that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, I think that, you know, it is in many ways just kind of a product of the opportunity.
Okay.
Right? And that I was traveling to London most frequently. I had a dear close mentor of mine that kind of helped me make some introductions, which are so important.
Of course. Specifically in this kind of community.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, I think one of the big decisions that we made early on is we don't do negative content, right? And I think that, you know, especially amongst these heritage brands, they're very, very careful and safe about who it is that they film content with, because, you know, you have one internet blogger that comes, right, he has no idea what he's talking about, and he flames you for the wrong reasons.
Of course.
And that can, unfortunately, you know, really compromise someone's livelihood, right? And I take a tremendous responsibility in what we do, in that we don't do negative content, because who am I to jeopardize someone else's legacy and ability to earn a living?
With you.
So we have people all the time that reach out to us, and we just simply won't film with if we can't do something that we think, you know, really honors them, right? And then I would just say that, you know, it just was a slow progression, really.
And they adopted you, literally, right?
Well, I think that they saw that we honored them, right? And that we took care of their heritage, which is incredibly important. I think that they saw the value of our audience and, like, you know, what we were able to do for them.
Of course.
I mean, in some ways, it's kind of transactional in that way. And it was a lot of time. I mean, the amount of time that I've spent in London is significant, right? I mean, I can't count the number of trips.
Well, I can see.
You know,
I know what it takes to do.
You know, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've spent on this footage.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that it is married with a profound appreciation for what it is that they do. And just like you, we want these people to survive.
Yes.
And you know, there's no question that, you know, there have been many moments where, for a lot of these heritage firms, you know, that was questionable.
Well,
right?
I can go further than you, Kirby. I said on national TV recently that we can say, in the eyes, that we probably saved 100 ateliers just by ourselves, and maybe you more. So we can, I mean, save. Let me document this word. I don't say we are the savior of, no. But we gave them, even to Cifonelli, I told you this story when we were preparing this show. I mean, preparing, you know, because we could talk for hours together. But Lorenzo Cifonelli in the 1990s, he was telling me that he didn't see his future.
Yeah.
And then the internet arrived, and then people like us arrived, and now he can't even fulfill the orders. He has too much work.
Yeah.
So it means that, I mean, it's not to sing our praises about that, but this is something that has value for me. So many people ask me, why do you do all this? Why do you know, I had a very established life before. Well, precisely because I think these people deserve. They need a hand. They don't have, you know, even a famous tailor didn't have the mean to have a double spread page in a print magazine for $100,000. That's only the big groups could have. So what did we do? We gave a share of voice to people who couldn't afford a share of voice, and we revived that. So now, I want to ask you a couple of fun questions.
Okay.
First of all,
putting me on the spot here.
I would love,
After a few drinks of whiskey and a nice cigar.
I would love to see you in an Italian suit one day.
Yeah.
Do you have one or zero?
You know, so I've got one Italian suit.
Yes.
That I must say no longer fits.
Because you were thinner?
You know, it was such a long time ago.
Okay.
But I have to say, I mean, you know, as I looked at the future of the channel, one of the things that we'd like to explore more is Italian tailoring. This idea of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. I mean, the Italians have such a different approach than the British. And I think it would be fun to, you know, to kind of do a proper series exploring that. I mean, you've done, you know, you've done so much. I mean, if anyone
we wrote a book on it.
Well, I mean, you know, and I have to say I have a profound respect for you in the fact that you have written books. I mean,
Thank you.
know, I choose video because, you know, I'm not an accomplished writer like you are. And I think I really admire people that, like yourself, that have written books because there's a certain permanence to it.
Yes.
That doesn't exactly exist on YouTube.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's hard work and very little money.
Yeah.
Books.
Well, I feel like YouTube's the same.
Yes, actually, this is the same. Well, but we are with Sonia. We are, because everybody says your book. It's actually we write the books together.
Yeah.
And on the last book, Shoes, we have at last both our name. It was so unfair because Sonia has been writing, I would say, almost half of the Italian Gentleman. And without her, I will not be done. So I have a proposal for you. Let's not take, well, it's not an engagement. It's not something that we got, but it would be fun if I would guide you in the streets of Napoli and we co-produce a show on that, and you will guide me in your favorite addresses in London. That would be fun.
That would be a pleasure.
No?
I think it would be great.
I love this idea. I mean, Napoli is, you have to have the keys of the city, otherwise you're going to lose yourself.
Well, that's, I mean, I think what's true in all of this world, and it's one of the things that we've done through our channels is to share these keys to other people. I mean, we just finished an incredible series on Terry Haste and John Kent. I mean, I'm wearing one of the suits here. Yeah. I mean, you know, they were one of the best kept secrets in all of London. I mean, I described them as the lowest common denominator amongst the well-dressed. It's the one thing they, you know, all the well-dressed shared in common is that they were having John Kent and Terry Haste make their suits.
Yes.
We filmed this incredible series that is, you know, probably netted them millions of views.
Yes.
Right. And one of the interesting things I think is an important point to make is that you think in a traditional advertising world, they speak in terms of impressions.
Yes.
Right. So an impression is just someone saw something.
Yeah.
Right. But as you know, right, on YouTube, a view is completely different than an impression, right? Yeah. So a view is someone that, for our channel, on average, has watched. It's okay. It'll help keep the moths away.
Yeah.
You know, you rub it into the fabric. It only makes it better.
I was taught by I'm not a cigar professional. I was taught you never have to do this. You have to let the ash going down. So this is what I did. I hope I still have a pair of trousers right now. I mean,
as long as you don't burn a hole in anything, you're fine.
But I'm sorry for that. So, you were talking about Mr. Kent, right?
Yeah. But, you know, the average, you know, view on our channel is 12 to 14 minutes. Yeah. So that's millions of people that have watched 12 to 14 minutes on average, right, of them talk about themselves, right? And this is one of the things that I constantly recenter myself on, is that I'm not an expert. You know, my channel is not me talking about the history of everything and how to do something.
Same here.
I do not consider myself an expert. Don't take my advice, right? What I am simply really is a host, right? As a platform for people to speak about themselves. Yes. And this is what's incredible about video versus the written word. Because in the written word, right, journalism, traditionally, you are relying on someone else to be able to interpret and articulate what it is that you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's very true.
And too often, they get that wrong. Yeah. You don't, right, because you come from this world. And that's what makes your books, you know, so timeless and so incredible. Yeah. But there's a lot of people in fashion press or just in the press in general that don't truly understand what it is that rests at the heart
Yes,
of this
but
craft.
there's a reason for that, and the reason for that is very simple. When we were asked by Thames and Hudson, we have the luck to be published by the biggest name in the world, Thames and Hudson in England and Rizzoli in the USA, so big publishers.
Congratulations to you. Yeah.
Yes. We were asked to do a book on Italian gentlemen, so the Italian style. And you know how I would say 90% of the books of this kind are made today. Mm-hmm. You send a photographer, or you ask the people to send us photography.
Yeah.
You go on the internet, you grab a few Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Okay, you give a few phone calls, and then you put together a book. I could have done this. I was already a connoisseur of the Italian scene. I could have done this in 2 months.
Yeah.
We decided with Sonia, he said, we are talking about bespoke. We're talking about traditions. We're talking about quality. We can't do that.
Yeah.
So we said, we're going to go in Italy
Yeah.
and live in Italy.
Yeah.
And we thought it will take us 6 months. It finished by taking us 3 years.
Yeah.
We stayed in Italy for 3 years. We visited probably more than 100 ateliers.
So jealous.
Yeah, and we did it, of course, I'm not comparing myself to Ernest Hemingway or these people, but these people back in the years, this is what they were doing. They were immersing themselves in the subject. And we've seen things, Kirby, it's not even, I can't even tell.
Yeah.
We saw some from the ritziest places with marble everywhere to the most nasty underground in which some pieces of arts were crafted.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So that's why I think that our work is, well, I mean, I hope people feel its sincerity, but it took us 3 years to travel from Bologna to Milano to Napoli to Rome to everywhere in Italy to really try to understand this very difficult thing to explain, which is the Italian style and the Italian soul, because this is very, very specific. But
and just to put a little
yes,
dot on that I,
of course,
is in addition to all that, the relationships that you had to build in order to even be allowed in.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Which is so important, right? And that's so much a part of the work that you do.
Yes.
And I feel like the work that we do in a much smaller way is building those relationships of trust for these artisans, these craftspeople, to allow you in to...
and tell you the truth.
Tell you the truth, and to tell you the story. And I joke in Italy, more than any other country that I've experienced,
so let's
you've got the front room,
yeah,
you've got the back room, and then you've got the back room,
yes,
right?
Which is normally underground.
And that you are only invited into after they know you, and that they like you,
yes,
and that most importantly, that they trust you.
Yes, and more importantly, that you love the cuisine of the mother. Yeah. Because in Italian families, this is the most important. You have to, it is a big problem. If we do, let's say, let's put this in the plan. Maybe we are crafty people.
Great,
we can do a Napoli tour.
We need a walking tour.
The thing is that you have to bring with you your loosest suit.
Yeah.
Because if we do this, we're going to be invited at the table of each tailor. And believe me, when you are invited at some tailor's house in Italy, good luck.
That's the highest honor, right?
Well, it's the highest honor, but it's the best we did, the longest we did were 13 courses. You understand what it means? Yeah. Your double-breasted become a little bit difficult, and then finished with a single-breasted, and then you just go out and you open your jacket and you make
your trousers.
Yes, you open your jacket and you make your followers believe that it's cool to wear your double-breasted suit open. It's just because I've been eating too much. You know, that's the point. So let's do this project. I don't know when we are doing this in front of you. We didn't prepare that, but let's try, let's say in 2023 or 2024, we take you in the streets of Napoli, you take us in the streets of London, and we have fun together. Yeah. Is that a plan?
I think that if anyone from Netflix is watching, there's your series right there. So
yeah. Well, I'm not sure about Netflix because I've heard they ask, they give you a little budget and a lot of, and I'm just kidding. But, well, why not? But there will be I like this notion of initiatic journey, initiation journey, and it's a
journey of discovery.
Yes.
Right, that's what it's about.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, last question. Where is Kirby Allison, the brand, going? Do you have, I know you have multiple projects on your plate. Is there one or two projects you want to disclose to us?
Well, I think it's an interesting question. I'd like to say that I'm, kind of that deliberate about things. I mean, so much of what I do, kind of evolves organically. Yeah. We just finished our Suit to Shoot series, which was a 13-part series following the creation of a bespoke shooting garment. Yeah. From the fabric mill, from Levitt Mill weaving the fabric, to Henry Poole constructing the suit, to us actually going to a Craig's Anchor House in Scotland and going shooting in this suit. And
with a piece of specific for the shooting.
Yeah, I mean, the garment was specifically made for this purpose, right? And it's one thing to have a garment made, it's another thing to see that garment living in the environment in which it was designed to exist, right? Because, at the root, or at the core of all bespoke tailoring is a pragmatic purpose, right? That's on YouTube. It was, I think, probably one of my greatest accomplishments of 2022.
Yeah, congratulations.
We just finished filming and are in the process of editing a series on the Goodwood Revival, which is the greatest vintage car race in the world.
Oh, wow.
And we followed an individual who owns DK Engineering, James Cunningham, who is the largest restorer of vintage Ferraris and races at the Goodwood Revival. Okay. And we followed kind of his journey, having Henry Poole, Simon Cundy, make him a suit, right? His car being tuned and prepped to go race, and then him at this race. And so, up to this point, so much of what we have done is just independent, very linear pieces, right? Yes. And as I look to the future, I really want to kind of follow and pursue these stories where there's a true narrative arc. Okay. So, we'd like to do more of that. I mean, it's this discovery of the world of quality craftsmanship and tradition that I love. Yeah. And it exists everywhere. We've focused, as you've said, so much on England. Yeah. I'd like to see ourselves do more outside of England.
We have a project together.
In France and in Italy.
Yes.
And that's, I think, from a YouTube perspective, what we would like to do. There's no question, I mean, as you know, video production is expensive.
It is. People don't realize what it takes, but well.
I mean, we've got $70,000 of equipment just here filming us, right?
Yes. I hope we look good.
Yeah. I mean, 4K for your viewing pleasure. Yeah. And then just the cost of these trips is expensive, and so that for us is really monetized through KirbyAllison.com. Yeah. Right. So anyone that's watching that wants to support our content, go visit KirbyAllison.com. Yeah. We've got great ties, pocket squares, everything else. Course. Yeah. But as I look to KirbyAllison.com, I'd like to see ourselves, I mean, not to steal from Ralph Lauren, but to really kind of develop in that way where we do more products that are branded, that are unique to us, and that allow us to, go and discover this incredible quality, but then offer it to people on a larger platform.
Excellent. So thank you, Kirby, it's a very strange situation for me because I was about to say I'm hosting a show, but I have a guest, but I'm interviewing the guest at his own place.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
You're the host and the guest at the same time.
Yeah.
But it was a blast to speak with you. It's been too long. We know each other since a little bit more than 12 years. Yeah, since the beginning of the Hunger project. And I'm so happy that a decade after, we still have a lot of projects in our heads. But more importantly, I think it's not about my little person or your person or other person, but I think we are a little group of people. I must say that before doing this, we all have the same question, what I'm going to do in life, which trace I want to leave behind me, what is my what I'm going to give to my children, not in terms of money, but in terms of heritage. What did I leave behind me, And I must say that I'm very lucky, and you are very lucky. We found our way, and we're happy that together with a few other friends, we've been able to advocate for the thing which is the most underrated value in the world, which is beauty. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, beauty is not something on the side. We live in a world which is so serious. everything has to be concrete, everything has to be immediate, everything has to be serious, everything has to be almost scary. You have to be concerned about your retirement, about this, about that. And us, what we try to advocate for, of course those things are important, but there's a form of transcendence in which you can't live without a form of transcendence. Well, me, I'm a Christian. I believe you are too a Christian. So we have a form of transcendence from our education and our faith. But also as, let's say, humans, I think that what we do is to give to the people another possibility of transcendence. Yeah. That is to say, it's not always about how to pay the bills, how to pay the rent, how to work more, how to be successful, blah, blah. No. Add a little bit of beauty in your life. It can be through art, it can be through music, and it can be also through classic style, because we strongly believe that there is an enormous possibilities and an enormous potential still open in front of us, and specifically for the young generation. Last word, we spoke a lot about bespoke. Some people will say, okay, those two gentlemen, they smoke expensive cigar. I have no idea of the price of this cigar. I'm not a cigar person. They drink good whiskey. They're in a beautiful room. But I want to tell you again that it is not only for people who had a lot of money. I'm coming from nowhere. I'm coming from the middle class in France. Yeah. I was born in Paris, but I was raised outside of Paris. My mom has been raised in a farm. It was a difficult life. Yeah. My dad was raised in a family that were all woodworkers, artisans. My grandfather was a cordwainer, a cobbler.
Yeah. Amazing.
And so I just a blue-collar worker, literally. Yeah. So I come literally from nowhere. And as far as I know, you were a penniless college boy when you started this adventure. Yeah. You see. So it means that I don't say that you don't believe in your dream and all that. No. I just say that it is possible to embrace this way of life no matter who you are. So follow Kirby Allison on YouTube. Check his website for the best shoe care product in the world, for sure, because they're French. So they can be anything but the best. Fantastic ties, beautiful pocket squares, and of course hangers. I have a lot of Kirby Allison hangers in my closet, a lot of them. Actually, I may miss a few, but we're going to speak afterwards.
That's because your wardrobe's grown so much.
Exactly. And so thank you, Kirby, for having us. It was a blast to see you. And now we have a project maybe for this year or next year. Deal?
It's on the books.
Cheers, my friend.
Yeah. Hugo, thank you.
Cheers. Cheers, everybody.
Quality craftsmanship and tradition.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.